Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gina Satira. If you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button below. I would really appreciate you doing that. So today I'm going to continue with my MCAT series. In my previous video, I shared with you guys how I studied for the psychology and sociology section of the MCAT, and using the tips I shared with you, I was able to raise my score by 9 points just for that section alone. So today I'm going to share with you how I was able to raise my biology and biochemistry section by 6 points. So a little bit about me. I just graduated from the University of Michigan, from the Flint campus, with my bachelor's in molecular biology and biotechnology with a minor in chemistry. So before I started studying for the MCAT, I was like, oh, the biology section is gonna be easy for me because that's my major. Well, I was wrong. So when I took my first practice exam, which I encourage everyone to take a practice exam before you start so you know the areas you need to pay more attention to. When I took my first practice exam, I scored a 123 on the biology and biochem section. This is also the third section of the MCAT. I was a bit taken aback because, again, I thought that I would have scored higher. But guess what? I did not take anatomy and physiology at all. I didn't take it in Jamaica, and I did not take it at U of M. Guys, do not be like me. Please take anatomy and physiology or some sort of anatomy class before you take the MCAT. Is it possible to do well without taking it? Yes. I mean, that happened to me, but I had to study much harder than if I had taken the class. So after I took it and my practice exam and I got a 123, I was like, well, this is definitely not easy as I thought. So the next thing I did was to use all the biochemistry and biology tools on the Khan Academy site. This is also located on the AAMC website. I'm going to share the link below as well. So for the first 3 months, January to March, I went through and I watched all the videos on the Khan Academy site that had to deal with biology and biochemistry. There is a little general chemistry on the third section, but it's not that major. The most important are the biology and the biochemistry sections. So after I watched all those videos, I realized that I did not know a lot of regular biology stuff. So of course, my major was molecular biology, sorry. So I did a lot of molecular classes, like I took molecular biology of prokaryotes, molecular biology of eukaryotes, I took immunology, microbiology, genetics, cellular biology, which were all upper level classes. But those weren't enough for me to excel at the MCAT. And after I watched all the videos, I went through and I took my own notes and I wrote down topics that I had no idea or I don't remember anything. I didn't remember anything on. So the next thing I did was to get my Kaplan books. This is where the books came in handy. So this book I highly recommend it. The Kaplan Biology book. This book taught me a lot of anatomy that I needed for the MCAT. And basically what I did was to read through each chapter, and as you can see, my sticky notes and my highlights, I went through and I highlighted stuff that I didn't know or I didn't remember. And then I went on YouTube and I found supplemental videos that would explain it. I learn best when I can relate to things. So for me, just reading something, it doesn't mean much. It introduced me to the idea, but I have to relate it to either real life or I see videos of people explaining it more. That's how I learn naturally. So I did that, and I did all the practice questions that were in this book. And for biochemistry, I went through and I read the entire biochemistry book from Kaplan as well. It's really good. I would say it's a bit detailed in some sections, and some part is a bit vague, but I think overall it will put you on the right track if you need a refresher. So I highly recommend taking biochemistry before the exam. I know so many people say that you don't need to take biochemistry. I mean, you don't need to take it, but will it make your life easier if you take it? Yes. Therefore, I highly recommend taking biochemistry. It doesn't have to be a whole year course. For me, I took 1 semester of biochemistry. It was an upper level class. My professor was exceptional. He taught us in ways that I really liked. And so when I was studying for the MCAT, the biochemistry section, I didn't have to study a lot because it was like a refresher for me. But this book, definitely, if you haven't taken biochemistry, I highly recommend this biochemistry book. So after I read through the biochemistry and the biology book from Kaplan and watched all the Khan Academy videos on their site, which is currently free, by the way, I started taking more practice tests. So my score improved from a 123 to about a 125. So when that happened, I realized that just doing those weren't enough for me. So guess what I did? I used Anki again. And I stuck with just one type of Anki because, as I said, there are so many different decks out there and it can be very overwhelming. Just find one that works for you and just run with it. For me, I like the Miles Down because it introduced a lot of terms that I didn't know or I didn't remember. So every single day I practice the biology and the biochemistry Anki flashcards. Leading up to my exam, I did that every single day. And also, the other thing I did was to write down topics that I would forget easily. So for example, glycolysis, the citric cycle. We know that it doesn't matter how many times we learn it, we forget it. I am one of those person. So what I would do is to go back every week and reread the chapter. And sometimes I didn't have the time to reread all the chapters, so I read the summary that was at the end of each chapter. So this is another reason why I really like this book, because it has a really good summary at the end of each chapter. So after I did those, I realized that my scores started to go up, like way up. I even went to a 131 on my practice test for the biology and biochemistry section. I must say that I think another thing that really helped me was that I took molecular biology courses. So the biology section is not just memorization. You have to know certain content. So for example, for especially the discrete questions, those are mostly content-based. But for the majority of the test, it's application-based. So you have to know how to analyze certain things. You have to know how to analyze results. They will give you a gel and you have to know how to interpret it. I learned the bulk of that knowledge from my molecular biology classes. My professor was exceptional. His exams were brutal. They were 3 hours long and they were all essays. So there were no multiple choice, but the concept was the same. We had to pull ideas from all different topics and analyze graphs and all those type of things for the exam. So I would highly recommend, if you haven't graduated yet, or if you're taking an SMP or a post-bac or in a master's program, if you can squeeze in a molecular biology class, please do, because it will help to improve your analytical skills. That will be very helpful when you are taking the MCAT. So after implementing all those tips, my actual MCAT was a 129 for the biology and the biochemistry section. I am happy with a 129 because honestly, I didn't get to finish that section. So there were 2 set of questions that I didn't get to read the paragraphs because I was running out of time. So I didn't read the paragraphs, so I didn't have time to look at the graphs that they showed. So I just went through, read the questions, and just give it my best shot. Another thing for my exam was I realized a lot of the questions, it came down to 2 possible answers. And I was like, oh my God, it's either I'm gonna do really bad at this or I'm gonna get an okay score. There were so many of them where I was like, it could be this, but it could be that. And I think what helped me was to just choose one and just move on. Choose an answer and go. Because when you get stuck and fixated on an answer, that's when you lose track of time and you get flustered for your other sections. So I really hope that this video was educational for you. I know so many people learn in different methods, but just try and find what works best for you. For me, I like to read first to get introduced to the content. And then after reading, I have to do active learning. So I have to watch videos and relate it to everyday life. And honestly, I wish I had started the Anki earlier. I didn't start Anki until the ending of May. And I started studying from January. Honestly, guys, start Anki as soon as you start studying. It will make your life way easier. So this is what I have for you today. Just to recap, my lowest score was a 123 on a practice exam. I moved up to a 131 on my practice exam. My actual score was a 129, and I'm positive if you follow the tips I just shared with you, you will see an increase in your score. So please like, subscribe, comment below if this video was informational for you. And stay tuned for my other sections, which I hate those sections, but I'm going to talk about them anyways. In my next video, I'm going to talk about the cars section and the physics and general chemistry section. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope you have a good day. Bye.
Are you kidding me? Force, yeah. So we are coming with a force, yeah. Blessings we are reaping, we coursing on full.